Thank you for stopping by this week. I really appreciate it. This project was a fun one. It was a bit of a challenge. Please stay tuned and see how it turned out. So, this week is going to be another experiment, because what do I do with this piece? Traditional wisdom would say it's a crotch piece because there's two piths, so the tree went this way. Hence this being a crotch, so there should be some nice grain in here. So normally I would split it down this way and turn a bowl here and incorporate this. Problem is, this was cut by a non-woodturner and given to me. No offense there, Alan. It's very short. So that's as big of a bowl as I could do. 6 inches. I'm not really interested in turning 6-inch bowls. So that leaves me with end grain. End grain is not a traditional turning either. It's still wet. It's been cut about a year ago. So it's not real wet, but it's not dry either. I'll test it in a bit and let you know. So again, I'm going to do something different with it. I'm going to turn it end grain. I am going to do multi-axis. It's a good thing, but I have this screwed into a faceplate, so it's held very securely. But you can see here how out of balance it is. You can see that as I turn it, the heavy parts falling to the bottom. If you remember last week, I talked about wet wood and how the shavings just came flying off. Notice here, there's no shavings. It's the same piece of wood. The difference is this is end grain, so I'm cutting a completely different orientation, so the shavings are not coming off like they did last week. So it's still out of balance, and it's going to be out of balance because of this. I'm missing wood here, so that's going to make this side heavier. I don't need the full height of it, so I'm going to cut this part off. It's mounted on my faceplate with screws now, so that's making it a lot heavier than it needs to be too. And out of balance, it's physics. Out of balance is just the amount it's out of balance times the distance away from here, plus its overall, multiplied by its overall weight. So as I reduce weight, vibration will get better. My intention here is to get this light enough so that I can actually do an multi-axis turn and have a bowl here, here, and here, hollowed out front and back, and leave the rest of this. I'm not sure whether I can get away with that or not. What I have checked is that from the center of this to its furthest point, it's 9 inches away, which I can turn 18 inches, so 9 on the radius will give it to me. Same thing here to here and here to here. So I think if I center on each one of these, I will be able to do enough multi-axis turn. It's going to be ambitious, and it's not going to be a fast turn, because imagine when I'm turning this as my center, I have all this weight and nothing over here, so it is going to be out of balance. So it's going to be slow, but we'll see how we make out. So on my channel, you've seen me do this before. I'm using hot melt glue, and I heat it up in an electric frying pan so that it's good and hot. And then I'm just gluing these wooden blocks on, and I'm centering those on those 3 circles that I drew on. Here you can see the final product with the 3 pieces glued on, and they are going to be my centers for my multi-axis turning. Let the fun begin. So I am now mounted on one of those circles, and you can see how this is really turning off center. And what it means is not vibrating too bad, but I do have to keep the speed down fairly low. Otherwise the lathe would just walk across my shop floor. I keep my tailstock engaged, as you can see here, just to keep pressure on that tenon. Again, because it's so out of balance, I want to make sure it's supported as much as I can. Unfortunately, it's a fairly small hole in diameter because I'm doing 3 of them, so I won't be able to keep the tailstock engaged the whole time. At some point I will have to take it away, but I'll keep it there as long as possible. The other thing is, and you saw that just a second ago, I'll stop the lathe every once in a while and just make sure that the depth of this hole is where I want it to be. And I want all 3 of them to be pretty close to being the same. So I'm just using my depth gauge here to measure the depth, making sure that they're uniform for all 3, and also to make sure that I don't go through the bottom of the bowl. Now you can see that my tailstock is no longer engaged, but I'm just making the final cuts. The majority of the material has been removed, and I'm just taking some light cuts where I don't have the support. Now I did end up stopping there. I probably had a very small catch, but it was enough to shift it out of the chuck a little bit. So I just stopped, recentered it, and tightened it up and made sure that it was good and tight. Which is a good practice to do anyways, regardless of whether you're off center, is every once in a while just stop and retighten your chuck up, because it will vibrate a little bit loose over time. Now with the 3 bowls finished, I ended up gluing another block to the center of this on the bottom so that I could clean the top up and true up the outside and finish sanding. There, that's looking better. One advantage of taking this down a bit, some of these circles are a little close to the edge, but they're tapered. So if I take a little bit off the top, that'll move them a little further away from the edge, which is what I'm going to be looking for. Now, keeping an eye on it, listening, feeling it, that jumped on me. It got a little loose on my tenon. So stop immediately, because I don't want to cut off center again, and tighten it up. Or even worse, have it come off altogether. There, I've got a much flatter top now, so that's good. I'm going to leave it for now, true up the outside, which will allow me to get my speed up, and then do a final pass on that and clean it up. That's cutting nice that way, and that's rounding it up, so that's about where I need to be. So the first thing I did here was establish a rim. You can see I actually had to take a fair bit off, because when I remounted this the second time, it was a little bit off center. So I do have to true that up. Now you can see here that I'm no longer in end grain, I'm back to a side grain orientation, and the shavings are coming off much better. I'm also a little thin there. I'll take a little bit more off the top to give me a little bit more space, but overall it's looking fairly good. And now we're ready to start sanding. I won't show a lot of that. I did start at 80 grit, move my way up to 400. Now, question what I do with this. See, what I don't want is you give that to someone and then bark flakes off. So I think that's gotta come off, just because, again, you don't want to give a bowl to someone, sell a bowl, and have that flake off. Bark is nice. Bark looks nice. It's a nice contrast. But again, regular use, if that's going to flake off, you don't want that. What's underneath there is still going to have a nice shape to it. So that's okay too. I may take a flapper wheel to that and just sand it and see what's left. Let's go do that. There, I think the brown that's underneath actually doesn't look bad, and it's going to be solid enough that it won't flake off. So bark has different layers. The outer skin-like part, which is what most people refer to the bark. Then there's this cambium layer here that you see. It's also brown. It's got some color, but it's good and solid, and it's got a good hold to the wood. So I think I'll be okay leaving that. I'll just clean this up a bit more and give it a little more sanding, and we'll see. But I think, like, I'm shaving it off, like it's got a good hold, so I think it'll be okay. Again, you just don't want someone eating out of this, using it, and then bark falls off. So I think that's going to be good. Still going to leave a nice contrast. I'm really pleased with the way this bowl has turned out. It, again, was a bit of a challenge. Multi-axis, had to turn it slow. But I like how the natural edge bark was incorporated into it and ended up with 3 separate small bowls within the same piece. Leave a comment, let me know what you think, and whether or not this is a project that you would like to try. Again, thank you for watching.